Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining today's webinar on OmegaOne. It looks like we have a few folks that are still getting logged in, so we're going to give everyone about 2 more minutes to make sure that they can get in and get connected and all of that good stuff, and then we will get started. Thanks again for joining. All right, well, it looks like just about everyone is logged in and connected now, so we will go ahead and get started with today's OmegaOne webinar. My name is Heather McLeod, and I am with OmegaFi's professional services team, and I have with me today Sarah Beth Russell, who will be doing the majority of your training on OmegaOne. Before we get started with all of that, I did just want to give a couple of updates. One is just to give you all a little bit of a background on OmegaFi. So OmegaFi is the company that hosts OmegaOne, and we have been around for more than 30 years. We provide technology solutions to help customers manage their finances, streamline operations, recruit new members, and communicate with members, which is a good bit of what you will learn about today when Sarah Beth goes through the features of OmegaOne. So we actually, OmegaFi works with 57 different headquarters across the United States, and as well as local chapters on campuses throughout the United States, including house corporations and even IFC and Panhellenic councils and alumni and alumni associations. And all of those span across more than 650 campuses. And we are the industry leader when it comes to technology in the fraternity and sorority community. And we are actually based out of Columbus, Georgia, and we process more than $1.1 million per day for our customers, and we've securely processed more than $4 billion for our customers since we got started in 1992. So to say that we are passionate about what we do is an understatement, and it's this passion that has encouraged our clients to trust us to do the heavy lifting so that you all can focus on your mission and having fun. So we are deeply committed to serving and promoting and advancing the fraternity and sorority experience, and we aim to make raving fans with every individual or group that we work with by reaching and innovating and acting with agility. And we challenge ourselves to dream big every day and to help others achieve their dreams. So hopefully with that training that you'll have today on OmegaOne tools for a successful fall will help you all with reaching the goals for your chapters this semester. One more thing before I turn it over to Sarah Beth is on your screen there, you should see a box or a little window for you to be able to submit questions to us. So I want to make sure that you all can see that and use that on your screens there. So if you do have any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to type those in there and we'll get those answered for you. So let's go ahead and test out that question window or that question box there. If you don't mind, please go ahead and type in your name and your chapter, And let's make sure that that's working okay, so that if you do have a question come up during the training, that we'll be able to get back to you. So again, just a little quick note there with your name and chapter to let us know that that's working and that you're here and can hear us and see us okay. All right, I see those coming through. Thank you all for putting those in there. It looks like that's working. Thank you very much. So again, if you have any questions throughout the training, type those in there and we'll get back to you either while Sarah Beth is going through the training or at the end there. All right, I think that's it for me and my introduction. I will turn it over to Sarah Beth for your training.
Hi guys, my name is Sarah Beth Russell and we are going to go ahead and get started today looking at our agenda. So today we are going to go over adding your users and how to get them logged in, what that will look like, the email they'll receive. Then we're going to walk through the admin features specifically, highlighting email and text communications and emergency check-in, but also hitting those other tools on there. So looking specifically at the admin tools menu. And then at the end, we will have Q&A. So starting with adding your users, this is what the login email is going to look like when that is sent to them. So if you have new members that you just brought in and you're wanting to add them to your OmegaOne system, we'll look at how we do that, but this is what the email is going to look like when they receive that. If you guys use any other Omega 5 products such as Vault or Omega Recruit and a member has already logged in there, when they go to log into this one, it will link those accounts as long as they are with the same email address. Now, if they've never logged into an Omega 5 product, then they will hit the option to create their account like we see here, and it will take them through those steps. So having a successful fall semester can be broken down into 3 simple phases. We're going, like I said, we're going to add and look at how you can manage your users, go through the admin tools, and then look at how you can use mass email and text. Okay, starting off with adding your users. On the left-hand side, you can go to the wrench and screwdriver tool here. This is going to be your admin tools and manage users from here. So this is where you can add users individually, or you can add multiple users. Now, depending on your national organization, those may pull in separately, but if not, then this is how you will manually add your users. And as you can see, they're listed here once they're added, and you can change their member type as well as their access level from normal, officer, or administrator. And then here you can also resend their login email if they have not been able to get logged in, and adjust what email that is sent to if need be. So this is also going to be where you will manage your users. So come time for officer election, any members that are going to move to administrator role or officer role, you can change that access level here, or anybody who's coming out of a role, you can bump them down to normal on this screen as well. So this is kind of the main hub for where you will manage those users. And as we go through the admin tools today, we'll also look at different ways you can manage what each type of user sees. So starting at the top, we have a few different things. So as you can see, you have options for points, announcements, study hours, calendar. If you guys have external websites with your national organization, you can manage that here. Excuses, emergencies, files, users, questions and polls. Then your OmegaOne settings, this is where you can link websites to easily access, and then manage groups and manage email and text. So starting off with your points. If you guys use a point system, you can input those here. You can link those to calendar events and you can keep track of them, set a quota, and make it to where members can appeal for those. And you can do that by adding points here. You can put the label and the description, how much it's going to be, and then whether or not this is bonus or if it's just baseline, then you don't have to check that. Or if you guys don't have bonus points, you don't have to use that. And then you can set if you can get partial points or not, and what category it goes under, and then the appeal cutoff date. And here is where you can also see where you can manage who all sees those points possibilities. So if your new members don't use points, then you can exclude them. And then typically alumni are always going to be deselected on things with the chapter, as most don't participate in that. And then you can add that whenever you're done. But as you can see here, there's several different points possibilities. You can manage those, update, and again, another way you can see who all is able to see that within the chapter. Here you can have your announcements. So these are going to be published directly to your OmegaOne wall. As we can see here, there was an announcement earlier for reviewing formal attire. If we go back to the wall, we can see that posted directly onto the home page for your members to see. And when you do your announcements, you can also indicate whether or not you want to send out a push notification. So put your title, the description, and you can add an attachment, and you can add it to a section in your files, which we'll look at that a little later. And again, you can select who is able to see that. And then you can alert them by email, text, sending a push notification. And typically, you're always going to have that published to OmegaOne wall selected. If you don't want it to, you can deselect it, but that is always automatically selected when putting your announcements in. Then going to study hours. We can look at that here. These are the members that are listed. We don't have the new members selected, but if we wanted to, it would pull in any of the new members if they are going to participate in that. So if you guys keep track of study hours, this is kind of the main hub for that. For your users, they'll definitely need to make sure to download the mobile app for that. That has specific geolocation tracking, whereas you won't have that on your laptop. So they'll have to download that OmegaOne app on their phone in order to track their study hours, or if they're not able to, they can always appeal study hours for the admin to approve. So there are several different ways you can look at this. You can do this by the weekly breakdown, which is what this screen is here. You can add locations, manage appeals. So if anybody has put in 4 study hours that maybe they forgot to record, and then you can look at the settings specifically. If we look at the settings, these are who we're tracking. So again, if you want to add new members, you can. You can put your start day, any blocked times, and you can clear study hours from here. If you do clear your study hours, that is going to clear everything. So make sure if you're wanting to delete those, it's going to be permanent. So make sure that is at the end of the semester, or you're really wanting to clear all of those before you do that. And then if you want to look at your study locations, you can see that here by location, and you can do list view or map view. So we can see the green dots here are where those locations are. And if you want to add a new location, it will pull up a map for you to add a new location. So you can name that and then either enter a location, or if you know where it is on the map, zoom in to find that. So for example here, if you wanted to make this Chick-fil-A a study location, you could do so. And you would just choose, oh, sorry, to add the new marker. Once you have that hovered over, you want to start in the middle of that location to get the best mapping on that, and you'll expand that circle to include the entirety of that portion of the map, and then you can save the changes. And if we want to look at it now, that is on your list view. So that's how you can add your locations. When you're doing that, just make sure you encompass the entirety of the location to ensure the best tracking for your members so that they're able to access it whenever they are in that area. And then additionally, if you want to set goals for your members, you can do that individually by going to their profile and setting weekly goals if you have those, or if anybody is maybe has certain academic requirements they're needing to meet, then you can select that for those members and save that study hour goal for them to achieve each week. Now looking at the calendar here, this is going to kind of be your main thing that pulls everything together, your calendar here. So your events can be linked with files, they can be connected to points. They can also be set up for check-in. So when doing that, you can go to your color settings, label these accordingly to whatever your chapter is wanting. So you can make them color coordinated for your events. And then when you are wanting to add an event, you just click to add, put the title and the description in. And here is another portion where you can control who sees that. So, if you are having big little reveal and new members are not supposed to see that or know, then you can have it to where they don't see that on the calendar. Put in the event times and dates. And here we'll actually put in some information here. Let's just say going to be on the 23rd. And then you can do a start time, whatever color you want to put that under, depending on what you think is best with social. And then you can tie this to a check-in. So for this particular event, you may not need a check-in, but if you have something such as recruitment or any type of thing that is mandatory, or you need to keep track of who all showed up, you can put a check-in type on that. So you can do location-based. This is going to be similar to what we looked at within the study hours. So when you're doing your study hours, how you draw that marker, you would do the same thing with wherever this event is taking place. You can do passcode check-in, where it will then generate a passcode for you to give to your members in order to check in, and write it on a board or anything if you are in a large room so everybody can see it, or send that out in a mass communication for members to sign in accordingly. And then you also have the QR code check-in. So if a member needs to report to a specific admin when they come in, then the admin can pull up the QR code on their phone and check members in individually, or have that pulled up for members to scan in order for them to get checked in. And then just to show the location base, again, just like how the study hours are, you'll draw the marker wherever you're having that event. So for this, we'll do QR code. And if we want to link it to a points possibility, we can. You'll have to have the points possibility already listed in order to link it here. Or once you make the event, you can add a points possibility and then come back and link it later if you'd like. But if we wanted to link it, we could choose one of these here. For example, if we did, it's just going to show that it's linked to that. But since there's nothing for that, we are going to leave it. And then if you want to allow members to be able to submit excuses, then you can check that. So they'll be able to put excuses in for your approval. And then again, here is where you can notify your members. So up here is where you can pick who all is going to be able to view it. Now, I will say one note with this is if you're an administrator or an officer, if you're listed as an administrator and officer, and let's say you have um, like a chapter admin or volunteer who helps out with your chapter, if they're listed as an alum, but they're listed also as an administrator, they're still going to receive all these notifications, even though alum is not checked. So same with if, for whatever reason, a new member was checked as an officer or something, they're still going to receive notifications that way. So just make sure if alum or anybody is saying they're getting notifications that they're not also marked as admin or officer, and that might be why they're still getting those. So here you can select how, and then you can also set up a reminder for that. So if we wanted to set a reminder for the day before at 4 p.m., and this is the push notification and text and email. Now, with these, we'll look at in a second how you can make sure your members are set up for that, but they need to go into their user profile and make sure they are set up to receive text and email notifications as well as push notifications. So if any members are saying that they are not receiving those, it could be that their settings are not set up accordingly. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay, and so now we can hop over to October and see that is in the calendar. Now, anybody who is a new member, though, would not see this on their particular calendar. And then we're going to look at excuses next. External website, again, that is specifically if your nationals has that set up where you guys use your websites through OmegaOne. If not, then you won't have that. So we're going to go ahead and skip to excuses. These are submitted via the calendar. So if we want to look at how that looks on a member side. So this is a member account where they can look at the calendar, and if there's a particular event they are not going to be able to make, they can submit an excuse. So they would go to the calendar and then to the event that they are submitting the excuse for, and then type in what their excuse is. And then they can add an attachment if that's necessary, depending on what their excuse is for, and save and add that. So now on the admin side, we can see that excuse under here to manage. So these are event excuses here. So you can look at the calendar specifically to see what those are for. And then you can approve or deny those. With your settings, all of those are under the menu up here. And you can see where you can put to notify somebody when a member submits an excuse. Um, and additionally, you can clear all resolved excuses if you need to. Um, and then when you go to approve or deny, it's going to give you the details, approve or deny, and then the reason, and you can send that reply. So that way the member is notified whether or not they are approved or denied for that excuse, depending on what it is. So approved, good to go, and send the reply, and that will go to that member. So that is excuses, and then now you can look at resolved excuses and see this one is over here, and it was approved, who it was approved by, and the date and everything. So next we'll go to managing emergencies. With new members coming into the system, this is a great time to test your emergency check-in. These emergency check-ins are set up to help you guys in any event that you may need it, such as, God forbid, school shooter or inclement weather, depending on what may be going on. We've seen this used several times in weather emergencies, and this essentially is just to make sure all your members are okay. So as you can see here, one administrator is going to be in charge of setting that up, and then they'll be the only person who can stop that. And essentially what will happen is all of your members will receive a link to check in every 2 minutes and 30 seconds, or I'm sorry, 2 minutes for 30 minutes. And when your members click on the link, they can say they're okay or not okay. So this just helps keep track as things are ever evolving and changing in whatever type of emergency may happen. So if you want to start a check-in, you can do that here. But if you're wanting to do a drill, you would click this, and it's going to ask you, are you sure this is not an emergency? And you can say, yes, this is a drill, and put in that information, and then you can start the drill, and this will just do a simulated one and not act as a actual emergency check-in, but we'll just do that drill so your members can see how that functions and be able to respond to the emergency check-in notification. Again, this is going to go to all your members within the system. So if you want to check that at any point, you can always do that during a specific meeting, wherever you're going to want to use it. But this during fall is a really great time to test that out, just to make sure that everything is working in case you do need to use that. Now, going to the next thing in the admin tools is the manage files. So here you can keep different documents and information depending on what your chapter needs. You can even lock the files if you need to. So if there's anything that is added and needs to have password protection on it, you can have that. You can add folders to divide those up. Right now, I don't think we have anything in the folder, so you can't expand or collapse it, but as documents fill these up, you can expand that and see the different files that are underneath that. And you can also add external links as well. So if you don't need to add a folder, but just a file into a folder, you can do that here. Um, say we choose this here. We're going to upload it and put who all can see it, whether or not we want a password on that or not. If we're adding it to a pre-existing folder, we can say yes, and then select where we want that to go. And again, you can send out notifications for that, publish it to the wall, however you're wanting to do that. Then you just add the file, and now you can see that underneath that folder. So this is a great place to put information. So as you're going through recruitment, if you have any workshop materials, information as to scheduling, anything like that, you can put that all here, reference it, and on your calendar, as well as your announcements, you can link files on there that you can then deposit into your files here. So a lot of those can be submitted through the calendar where members can access it there, or they can come here for the files as well if you want them to stay within OmegaOne and not get lost within the notifications. So this is a great place where you can keep all those resources. Another really great thing is like when officer election comes around, you can put resources for all the different positions that are available and who is available to be nominated, whatever that process looks like for you guys. You can put that file information here and make announcements on the wall and link where that is so your members can easily find it. And then we already looked at manage users, so we'll go to managing questions and polls. This is really great at facilitating things during the semester. If you have anything that kind of needs quick answers, you can send out polls to your members. If you're trying to get a head count for an event, here you can see there's a poll for whether or not members are going to be attending a mixer, or you can even use this to vote on bid day themes, or you can use longer answers as well, just depending. So if it's a quick vote, you can say yes or no. If it's yes, you won't have the option to add files. So if there's anything that involves files, it's not going to be a quick vote. You'll do no, and you can attach things to that. But if we just want to do yes, you can do the question name, write what the question is, select who all can see it. So if your new members need to see it, you can select that as well. And then choose what type of answer type. So if you can have multiple answers, open text, or only one answer per person. So if it's a yes, no, you'll probably only want one answer per person. And then you can add multiple questions to that poll. Choose whether it's anonymous or not, and then set the date for when that will open and then what day they need to respond by, and then send that notification out as well, and you can add that. So this is really great for getting quick answers. So if you want something done by the end of the day, you can set the poll to close same day, get that information out there, and members can go ahead and vote on that. And this is another instance where it's going to be best for members to have that mobile app so they can easily access this whenever they see those notifications come across their phone. And then here, once members start responding, you can look at the stats through this little icon here where it shows the graph. You can look at the staff's stats, who answered, what their answer was, and then what the poll and everything. It's going to give you all that information, and you can even export that into an Excel document to better review that. And you can edit that here or delete it. And then next, this is where you can add links. So if you guys have a chapter website that you want to be able to easily access through OmegaOne, you can put the link name here, put the link, and it's going to show up under this here with your links to be able to take members to that quickly. So you can add up to 5 different links on here for your OmegaOne settings. And here is manage groups and manage email and text. I mention these together because they kind of go hand in hand. We're going to look at manage groups first, but these are primarily used when sending out notifications. So when sending out mass text and emails, you can select specific groups when doing that. So you can add a group or you can edit a group. For instance, this officer election committee, once that is selected for your chapter, you can have the admin who's in charge of it host that, and then they can push the members who need to be in it into the group. So right now we have no one in the group, but if we wanted to push someone over into that, you can select the member and save the changes, and then those will be the people who make up that group. So this is where you can manage those. Your new members, alum, administrators, and officers are all going to be automatically pulled into those groups based on their um, member status and their access level within the chapter. But these other groups you can make accordingly. So if you have a committee for recruitment and you want them to be able to get notifications easily from your VP of recruitment or your recruitment officer, you can make a group where they can send that out to get them mass communication. And same with any other groups, anybody participating in particular events, that sort of thing. So this is really great for managing that, so you can more effectively communicate with your members for specific events. And then when you go to your emails and texts, this is where you can also see those groups are listed. So when sending the email, whatever user you're logged in, that is going to be the reply to email. You can change this if it needs to be something else. And then you can select the group that it needs to be sent to, put in that information and the subject. You can also add attachments, and then you can send it now, or you can schedule it to send later. So if you're working late, but you want it to send early in the morning, you can schedule that to send. Now, this is only specifically for the email where you can add your attachments. If you are going to send a text, it's going to look a little different. You're not going to have as many characters and you're not going to be able to add files, but this is really good for just a quick text to send out. Meeting location change from chapter room to whatever it may be, just to send out that quick text, and then you can hit send and it will go to whoever is members in whichever group you select. So again, if there's information that members need to see or only new members need to see, you can select the groups accordingly to get out that mass communication. Okay, and that is it for the admin tools specifically. And one other thing I did want to show guys while looking at is the member functions as well. Let me get over to this here. So as your members are going through what they're going to see on their side, we already looked at how they can submit an excuse for the calendar, but they can also appeal for points and study hours. So they can go through their different menu options here for various different things. This is how they're going to access some of the things that you as admins will send out. So any announcements, questions, they can also view that here, questions and polls. This particular member is admin access, so they can see this here. But if we want to look at study hours, we can see that you can appeal that under the menu. So most everything, if it has extra options, there's going to be a menu icon up in the right-hand corner where members can submit something. So let's say they forgot to record their study hours when they were somewhere today, or the particular place they were studying does not have a location set up, then they can request the study hours and add an attachment. They want to show what they were studying or where they were at and send that appeal. And then the same way that uh, the calendar excuses come in, and admin can actually look at that under manage study hours and view appeals. And same with points. So when you manage points, you can manage appeals here. Or as a member, if I want to appeal points, it's going to take you to all the points possibilities that you have, and then you would appeal that by specific point possibilities. So if I went to this particular sisterhood, I can appeal that. Um, and add an attachment if you want like picture proof, anything like that, whatever you may need to use the attachment for, you can, or you don't have to require that. And then you can send the appeal, and then it will show pending until an admin reviews that and either approves or denies it. So that's just on the member side, something that they can see there, and they can also go look. So this for them, like I said earlier, with the questions and polls, this shows how many polls they have unanswered or answered, and then they can edit their answers here as well. So that is kind of all going through the admin tools, and then kind of a little bit what that will look like on the user side as well. So now we will jump to Q&A.
Hey, yes. Thank you, Sarah Beth. So we got a couple of questions in. One question that we got is regarding rosters and roster updates. So if your chapter uses other Omega 5 products, those rosters do not update automatically to OmegaOne, so you will need to get them entered again in OmegaOne. Now, there are some organizations that we work with where we have an integration with your headquarters database. And then in those cases, those rosters update automatically through that integration. And you'll know that that's the case for your chapter because you won't have the ability to add new members to your roster in OmegaOne. So if you're running into any issues about that or have any questions, feel free to send us an email there. Sarah Beth has the email address up on the screen there. And then of course, we've got that Get Help button within OmegaOne for any questions that you have. Another question that just came through that I haven't been able to get to yet is regarding some members that looks like they may be having trouble getting logged into OmegaOne through the mobile app. Taylor, I see that message where it's telling them that they have the incorrect password even though they just logged in through Safari. Sarah Beth, I believe they would need to go to login support. Do you agree with that?
Yes, but I would first also make sure to have them check what application they have, especially if you use various Omega 5 products, or if you only use Omega 1, then they could possibly have the wrong application downloaded. There is a My Omega 5 as well that a lot of people will download and try and log into. So just make sure you have the Omega 1 app specifically. That's one of the main things that we see. But if you do and you're still having issues logging in, then definitely reach out to login support.
Okay, yes, that's a good point. Sometimes people do get confused with the name of the app because we do have several apps that are out there that OmegaFi hosts. So, like Sarah Beth said, OmegaOne, make sure that's the app. And then if they do continue to have questions, Taylor, have them go to login support at OmegaFi.com. So same email almost that's on the screen there. Instead of software, it's login support at OmegaFi.com. Um, all right, so let's see. We just got another question in from Robert. Thanks for submitting the question, Robert. He says their chapter has been having trouble opening the links on the OmegaOne app, the links under the files section. Sarah Beth, do you mind pulling that back up
Yeah,
on
let's see.
OmegaOne, the link section or the
The
file section?
yeah,
So if they're having issues with the links just on the mobile app, I haven't heard of that one yet.
I have not either. Depending on what the link is, it may be that if it's on the mobile app, maybe the user's phone has some sort of pop-up blocker or something of that sort. That's the only thing I can think of. You might want to reach out to software support so we can duplicate that and see what exactly might be going on. Um, and
Okay.
again, depending on what that link is for, um, it may not be accessible on the phone. I'm not sure. I think there's a lot of um, what's it
Yeah.
called? Variations that, could be happening that um, we probably just need to see more information to be able to look at that.
Okay. Yeah. So, Robert, if the links are working, like if you're on the desktop version of OmegaOne and just not on the app, please send that over to software support and we can troubleshoot that for you.
Oh, and one thing I did mention earlier that I forgot to show you guys to look at for notifications. There's two different places that your members can look at that, but they can go to this side where the gear icon is and go to my profile, or they can click on their profile up here and go to my profile. And here's where they can make sure they are signed up for all those notifications that they need to receive. So just depending on what you guys send out most, if people are saying they're not receiving text or push notifications, they can check here. If they're not receiving push notifications on their phone, they might also want to check the settings within their phone for the OmegaOne app to make sure that those are enabled. But here is where they can look at that specifically on their profile.
Yes, that's a great point. We want to make sure that they are opting into those. Okay, well, I think we have answered all of the questions. If just a couple of things to close us out. The recording of today's webinar will go out to everyone who registered. So if you have anybody else in your chapter who may have registered for the webinar, but they weren't able to make it this afternoon, they should still get a copy of the recording. Of course, you will get it too, anybody that attended. So feel free to forward that on to anyone else in your chapter that you feel will benefit from today's webinar. We'll also have it posted in our help center, which again you can get to with selecting Get Help, as well as on our YouTube channel. So we've got lots of resources for you that you can access anytime that via the help center or on OmegaFi's YouTube channel. And then, of course, we are always glad to help if you're not able to find what you need from those other resources. Again, I know we've said it a dozen times now, but software support at OmegaFi.com will be glad to help you out. I hope you all have a wonderful new semester using OmegaOne, and let us know how we can help your chapter. Have a great afternoon.